Hello, hello, hello. Today is Monday, fun day. It is May 8th and it is 2023. The year is just going, isn't it? And if you don't know, another year has passed. For me, it's been my birthday on the 4th of May. I celebrated yet another birthday, and I'm so thankful to all of you for all of your birthday wishes. I've been a little busy. I haven't had time to do much of anything, but I have tried to come on and say thank you for your birthday wishes and all of your prayers for my health and mental health and my prosperity. All the prayers and the contributions that you all have given have not gone unnoticed, and I'm really just lost for words um, for saying thank you. So trust and believe. I appreciate it all. Thank you, and I hope that you stay for the show. Okay. Hi, Sean Anthony. Thank you for coming. Stay tuned. Stay tuned. It's gonna be a great show today. Okay, so this is the Adroit Living uh, session of the Erudition Network with Tina Phillips. That's me. I'm volunteering this time to talk about mental health, physical wealth, and being skillful working with what you have to produce what you want, or at the very least, to make what you need. At the top of the list of human needs, we have the innate need for mental health and a need to self soothe. In each episode, I try to touch on diverse aspects of everyday living so people have enough to be encouraged until the next episode. So make sure you tune in for other episodes or you go back and watch the videos. All of these videos can be found on YouTube. You make sure you subscribe and ring the bell because sometimes the fish don't let me get on at a particular time because they're like, oh no, we need to adjust. We might jump out on you if you come right this moment. And just before we started the show, one of the fish were like, "Oh, we gonna jump at you." So yeah, whoever's asking if that's a background or if that's a real aquarium, it's real. It's real. Let's just hope that we don't go viral for one of them fish jumping out on me and me going crazy. Okay, I like the fish, but I'm not touchy feely, especially not with fish. Okay, but while we're giving people a chance to get in, um, let's go over the chat there a little bit. This is show for over here, and I put out a challenge to viewers, um, maybe closer to us towards the end of the year, and I said I challenge people to watch each episode 3 times. Each time with a different perspective, this will help you to develop critical thinking skills, have different perspectives, and sharpen your perspectives of being a little less narrow, and it'll broaden your mental capacity to say, okay, I can see it your way and actually mean it. Not just tell people, oh, we'll just agree to disagree or lie and say you see it their way when you really don't. So again, watch these episodes at least 3 times with 3 different perspectives, and maybe you'll see that I wasn't saying what you may have thought I was saying, but I was saying something else. And yeah, that happens a lot. Sometimes we're busy in life and we're hearing things that people are saying the wrong way. And then we take that in the wrong way. And that's the reason why I'm putting out these episodes. And I volunteer this time because misinformation is free. Okay? So guided perspective needs to be free too. And we need to know, where is this information coming from? So on this show, I provide you sources, reputable sources, and I have explained in other episodes how you can see that the sources are reputable. So it's not just Tina's opinion. It's not just I'm saying this from my own experience. But today's episode is from my experience working with people with high needs, working with DCFS in Chicago, working with people with high needs, and working with United Cerebral Palsy, again, working with people with high needs. So I have extensive background in working with people with high needs to include family members that have high needs. Um, So I'm not just saying these things from, oh, this is my experience, this is professional training, this is professional experience. So we're going to talk about developmental stages and children with diverse abilities. Now, this is an interactive show, so please feel free to interact if you see me live or comment, and I'll get back to you if this is a recording that you're viewing. I love to help people connect with other people who are also reputable sources or professionals in their field with tenure on the topic. So if you hit me in them comments, you subscribe and ring the bell, and you see me on and you want to be redirected to somebody that may be able to help you better than you may feel that I provided the information here for free, just let me know. You can also feel free to inbox me any questions if you don't feel free to ask in the open here. What'd you say? I just Hey Fahim, how you doing? All right. That's my brother from another mother. Love him. He is great, and he is also in the field of psychology and counseling. Um, I'm IO psychology. That's industrial organizational psychology. But Fahim is definitely in psychology, and as you can see, he got jokes, and he is hilarious. But he's also informative and professional, especially when it counts. So Fahim is definitely a person that I would definitely recommend. He's located in Chicago, so I got people everywhere. It's not that, oh, she can't keep a job. Why she got so many jobs? When you a student, and especially when you're a student and military, you get different jobs, and you're blessed to have these different opportunities. So you get all of this experience that you wouldn't otherwise have. Thank you for co-signing. Fahim said he is down for referrals, so you see that. So he's really great, and he's an awesome husband. He makes a dynamic duo with his wife. He has wonderful children, gorgeous children, and they're in Chicago. So that's somebody you can connect with if you're in Chicago and you're like, man, there's no good people in Chicago. No, there's good people in Chicago. Um, you can ask, and I can definitely refer you to some people. There's some good people everywhere. Being military affiliated, I've been blessed to run into people all over the world, and I'm happy to share, and they're happy to be found. So nobody has information out there like, oh no, don't tell nobody where I'm at. Don't tell people you know me. Some people are like that, but some people you have out here, and they are good people, and they don't mind you sharing their information and telling people they're available. No problem, my brother. Keep doing the good work. Keep doing the good work. Okay, that's so great. Yes, he is. He watches and he comments. Clearly, he comments. So, Fahim, I appreciate you. Y'all stay tuned, fam. Stay tuned. Okay, today is a very sensitive topic because a lot of people, they pray for children. They pray for children, and then when they are informed that the child may have some high needs, they say, "Oh Lord, refund, please," and they change their mind. But some people, some special individuals out there, they say, "I'm up for the challenge." Even if you're not up for the challenge, you may still encounter somebody where you're like, "Man, I wish that I would have went through with it, even though it would have been challenging." Because I don't care how the developmental stages in our lives go, at some point, whether you marry somebody and everything's fine, he's totally able, she's totally able, somewhere along the marriage, they become um, a person that joins the community of high needs. And now you have to cater more to them and give them more of your time, more of your attention, and all these high praises for things that you really don't have time to donate your time and energy to. And it can be very draining. You never know what's going to happen in your life, and you never know where you're going to end up in your life. So this episode is not just about children, and it's not just about people with high needs, because you never know what position you're going to be in. I didn't know that I would work with, or work for, or service a community that has such high needs. Um, but I fell in love with that community and I thoroughly enjoy it, even though a lot of those people cannot afford exactly what I'm doing here for free. I actually do a little bit more than what I do here online, but a lot of times they can't afford it. But why should they be deprived of the very thing that they need if this is a need and it's not them being greedy, but they cannot afford it because of red tape and politics or whatever the case may be? These are the very communities that we're neglecting, but the problem has exacerbated beyond those communities because we have younger people, the younger generations that are coming up and now being without these people who were supporting them because they passed or they didn't have someone else that would take up the challenge and continue to help the person that have high needs. So now the community itself is being impacted by these people. And it's not just the things that we can see physically, the things that we know straightforward or straight off just by seeing or having experienced time with the person. A lot of times people are expressing these high needs in a mental capacity where they're saying, well, I'm in a dark headspace, or you may not know that they're saying it, but they're exhibiting it in their body and their behaviors and the things that they're doing, especially amid the pandemic. And considering how the pandemic is leaving a lot of people with pre-existing conditions that they didn't have before they got sick, it's like we're going to encounter this problem a lot more. And there's a lot of babies that were produced um, during the pandemic. So there's some COVID babies out there, and those babies are exhibiting that they may have some high needs, which is a likely situation that's being caused by the era, the time that we're in. Now, those children, like I said in the previous episode, they're born for a time which they are going into, not the time that they are born in. So they're going to have abilities and really cool inventions, and they're going to be something great. You just got to stick with them and keep working with them and take part in their journey because you never know what's going to come of those people. Don't give up on them. So, what did you say? We're doing an episode on gun control on Thursday. You're more than welcome to join in, my brother. Oh, he's talking to you, Fahim. Gun control on Thursday. That'll be a great history lesson of how we really got out of control with that. I would love to be a part of that timeline and see and exhibit exactly how we got to where we are. But one thing at a time. I understand people can't be overwhelmed, and this show is only an hour. We have a lot to cover in just 1 hour, and we try to do it for free. But there is a banner down at the bottom that says how you could contribute financially to support us and help us to contribute more time. And he said, call him. It looked like, okay, so anyway, we're going to get right into the topic. So a little fun fact, those that are acknowledged. Okay, so a little fun fact. We have seen there's so many people who have had high needs do extraordinary things. I saw a man who didn't have any legs. He was born without legs, or his legs just didn't develop over the years, so his legs became or stayed small. But his upper body, he had amazing upper body strength, and he is now in the Guinness World Records for running on his hands. He wrestles. He does amazing things, and it's not about your high needs as much as it is about the love that you're open to receive so that it can sow a seed into your journey to make you do amazing things, or at least encourage you to do amazing things. It's innate in you to do them. You just have to be encouraged to do it. Okay, ways I helped develop speech um, in my children. I wouldn't say that this is something that you would do as a professional if you're dealing with children that's not your own, but I want to speak to the parents because a lot of times the parents they won't go and get the help that their children are getting. Now, when the children are going to the professionals are helping the children. But what about the parents? The parents need help, but we have a 9 to 5. We don't have time. And then during that 9 to 5, we got a kid with high needs or a family member with high needs. We don't have time. How are we going to squeeze this information in? So that's why today's episode is really important. So make sure you share if you have someone who has someone that they're loving on and loving through to finish strong and develop into a successful, productive member of society. There's a lot of people out here, and you just never know. So there was this one thing that I did with my kids to help them to develop speech. I was trained in a way where the speech therapist would enunciate and help the child to hear the enunciation and to touch the chest or the mouth to hear the words that's being formed. Another thing that I did personally because it's my child, I was like, man, well, if that's effective to an extent, because everything has its flaws, if that's effective to an extent, then why don't I um, put the baby's mouth, I spoke onto my baby's mouth and helped them to enunciate the words. And I spoke in the ear and I let them hold my throat and put their head on my chest. And you could sing, you could read your Bible, you could do whatever as long as you're enunciating and they are able to hear. Nowadays, with technology, you have headphones. And a lot of people were complaining about their COVID baby, the baby that they had during COVID. I have a 9/11 baby, so I know the difficulties. Um, so the babies now you can put headphones on the baby and they can hear the enunciation. I also used to do things like make it fun and make sure that they repeat. So that's why I said singing. So singing a song that helps them to enunciate and it makes it fun. It puts it to a rhythm and a beat and they enjoy it because you're enjoying it because you're interacting. Parents who are really, really involved in loving on their babies and loving on their family members, those are the people with high needs that do exceptionally well and normally make history, like the young man with making the world record. And that is so awesome. There are others. There are so many others that it's ridiculous that in this day and time we don't talk about it a little bit more freely. I've seen a lot of people but, display on TikTok and education learning, even if they learn a little bit slower than what we are expecting or desiring, or maybe even have time for. But it is definitely well worth putting the time in. A lot of times people would keep their children of high needs in a corner or off to the side because they can't grasp what's going on. However, what I've come to find, especially with working with United Cerebral Palsy, um, a lot of times they're picking it up. They're picking up a little bit every day or a little bit every few minutes, and it may not be in the amount of information that you may want them to pick up, but they're picking it up, and that repetition is necessary. It's extremely necessary when you have someone of high needs that you're working with. The lies about the unteachable is historic and sad. Too often we don't realize how many of us have been demoralized. And yeah, it is. And I think more more of what the problem was that people they didn't feel like they had the time, and they felt like whatever time they did have, they want to keep it to themselves, reserve it for themselves and their own sanity. But there's something missing in their heart that also may have made them feel like they weren't capable or they weren't good enough. So it's definitely necessary to have these kind of conversations in the open where you have actual, true, um, relatable, and what is it, respectable information, reputable information that you could put out there. That's a good, yeah. a great book to read is The Unteachables. That's a good observation and suggestion. So I hope people have seen that and take that under advisement. Okay, so there's many diverse techniques that you can use to help your children with speech. Even though that young lady said, well, she wasn't young. She said that she's over 40 and she had the baby, and during the pandemic, and there's so many obstacles in her life already, and now trying to have a baby and trying to make sure that the baby's developmental stages are what we expect them to be before they hit the school system, so that they're not held back, or so that they're not labeled and mislabeled. So that's one of the reasons, I've said in a different episode. That's one of the reasons why the system is a little slow to put labels on children, because once you put a label on someone, that label sticks. So they try to make sure that they um, wait a while, give it time in the developmental stages for the child to overcome the challenges of their era. And then, if they do not, then they label the child and give them the extra help that they may need. So don't be afraid to keep fighting for or advocating for your children or your family members, because it's various reasons why people try to hold off on labels and hold off on various support and things of that nature. But there's help out there, so stay encouraged. The community that I love the most, that is so helpful, is the homeschool community, because they have all of every information you need, and it's free, or it's darn near free. Okay, so I love that community, and in honor of that community, I'm out here doing what I do for free online and trying to make sure we get some of this out here. Many of you have asked me for years, get out there, get out there. Well, my husband asked me, I acquiesce, I'm out here. Even though I'm pressed for time and I'm a little late and I'm doing so many things, this is important. So I'm like, okay, I'll go ahead and do this. But a lot of the techniques that you use for people with high needs require a great deal of repetition. It requires hand to mouth, cheek to cheek. You could put the babies on your chest. I put my babies mouth to mouth. Don't you go out there putting your mouth on other people's babies. I'm just saying that might not look too right. You might get in trouble for that. But your own babies, and don't grandmamas, granddaddies, don't do it without permission. I know you the grand, but don't do it without permission. But I put their hand on my neck, and their ear to my cheek. So those are different techniques that you can use to help the babies to hear. But nowadays we have headphones and music and things like that, so that they can hear the enunciations being pronounced clearly, and you can slow things down so that they can hear it correctly, and you can exaggerate the mouth movements when they are struggling to hear clearly. So a lot of times we require the parents to be more patient, and they're like, well, especially in the African American community, where people are really prone to colloquialisms and slang and slurring their words, and like you dig and dizzle and dog and dog and the things that they do. And it's like people are trying, even adults from different countries who are trying to learn um, how English is spoken in this part of the world. They're like, what is thug dizzle? What is that? So they're like, dizzle? No, not dizzle, dizzle. So their pronunciation is also, in order for them to develop the proper enunciation, you have to say it slow. It's like trying to teach somebody who has no rhythm how to dance. You're a little patient with them, and dancing is so much of a hot topic these days. Every TikTok episode, somebody's dancing. So it's like being really patient and understanding that they might not get the exact move down at this moment, but as time progresses and you keep on exaggerating those movements and slowing it down for the exaggeration so that they can pick it up, they will pick it up. For quite some time, I didn't even know my firstborn could speak because he wasn't really saying much. I knew he could speak. I knew everything was all right with him. I knew he could hear, but he was born, and we ended up having to go to the NICU for at least a week. And I said, I've had enough. I'm taking my baby home. Y'all don't know. I don't know. I'm going home. We're going to pray about it. The end is my decision at the end of the day. So they had a nurse to come over to our house to visit. And this young lady was so surprised. And she was like, well, the baby looks fine. I'm like, yeah, he's fine. He was fine when he was in the NICU, and he's fine now. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do because I had the training. A lot of people did not have that kind of training. So I understood that the hospitals would be, apprehensive. So a lot of times when parents have children that encounter these different stages of their life, they get very impatient because they're expecting for the doctors to, one, trust them or inform them or be better than what they are exhibiting that they are. But a lot of times the doctors don't know, they're in training. The doctors are trying to do their best, but there's still some details that are lacking because there's so much originality and uniqueness depending each episode or each person. So the studies that the doctors have to learn from are not teaching all of the information because there's no way that they could teach everything. They have to keep gradually learning, especially when they encounter these episodes or the different people. So be patient with these doctors. They're doing the best they can, and participate in the studies, please, so you can further advance science so we can have the help that we are really expecting to have. But anyway, back to the topic. Uh, Speaking slowly and loudly, but avoiding emotions is important because emotions can be distracting. If you're talking to your child and they notice that you're visibly upset or you vibing off and you upset, they're taking that in. They're encoding that. Encoding means they're taking it in and they're using it and displaying it out. So if you're angry and you're sassy or you have some sort of emotion attached to the word or the behavior that you're exhibiting to the child when the child is picking up, encoding all this information, this is the behavior you will see. And if this emotion is for what they perceive to be unusable, it will make their progress more latent than what it should be. So try very hard when you're dealing with your family members in their developmental stages with emotions. Try not to be emotional because it will cause a bit of a delay because they're encoding all of this information is new and it's difficult and it's challenging. Then you compound all of that with emotions and you crying or you screaming and you mad and you about to tear your hair out and you about to hurt them because they're just not getting it. Try very hard not to be emotional. Put the person to the side and say, I'll be right back. And you go somewhere else, display all those emotions, vent them out, but let them know you'll be right back and you come right back. That's going to develop a sense of security where they'll trust that you just need a moment and you'll be back. So definitely be absent of emotion as much as possible. Hey, Eric, you're not late. You're on time, bro. Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. I haven't had much time, but I'm online doing this episode, and we're gonna get through this. We're gonna get through this and get back to work. But yeah, so encoding new information is often difficult, especially when you include emotions, distractions in the vicinity, and the pressure of learning and the inability to express frustrations or convey what the individual believes they need to be able to perform. For example, when people are going through their developmental stages, they get frustrated. They don't know how to explain to you what they don't understand or what they don't know, and they don't know how to tell you what it is they need for you to do in order for them to understand. So it's a lot of codependency on professional help and the child being able, or the person of high needs being able to advocate, self advocate to some extent, so that you can be able to help them in their needs. And we've seen this even in adults with um, fully capable of self advocating. They may not possess the information that they need in order to convey the help that they need, and they get frustrated and they say things and do things that we don't approve of, and they have to apologize for. But this is more intense when you have somebody who is innately um, having a high needs ability, um, from birth or from an accident or anything that occurred. A lot of people, they have a stroke, and now they've joined the community of high needs. It says my partner always asks what's wrong, and I'm like, nothing. What am I doing to give you the impression something is wrong? Yeah, it could be your body language. It could be from experience. You may have a habit of doing something that, and they're like, man, the last time you behaved this way, this was what was wrong, or something was wrong that I could not address. So it's not exclusive. These problems are not exclusive to people with high needs, because Eric does not have high needs. He dramatic and loves attention, but he doesn't have high needs. Yeah, I put you out there. You family, so I can do that. My brother from another mother. Plus, I'm just playing. Eric loves joking around. So Eric, it may be something that you vibing off, and if your partner is doing it, then it may be something that's attached to a behavior that you've exhibited before. So examine yourself and see, is there really something wrong and you may not be aware of it? Is there really something wrong and you're just not ready to talk about it? I'm always here, but your partner is always the first person you would want to talk to, if at all possible. But remember, I'm always here, and you've been knowing that forever. So there that is. These new viewers are just now learning. So um, also, I always refer you to talk with someone that's in your community that may have the same characteristics that I display, that you can trust. I know a lot of times people don't want to talk to anyone else because they don't want to be judged. They definitely don't want to be misjudged, and they definitely don't want to be misinterpreted and turn their words around against them, that would definitely impact them with their job, with their family members, etc. So this is why this is important for us to get out here. And if you have a comment and you want to interact and ask a question, but you don't want me to know who you are, that's all right. Use an alias. Ask the question through an alias or something, and let me help you. Okay? I'll try to give as much information over the airways as I can. And if you can't do it that way, you can always inbox me. I'll answer the question. That's just what I do. Anyway, people are often encouraged to let professionals work with them, with their children of diverse needs, which can cause problems like the inability to connect with their child or their family member of high needs. Parents don't see others who process who endure of the process. Um, Discourage interactions and progression. A lot of times parents are saying, well, I don't have the time to do that. This is my life. This is not a moment in my life. This is my life. But without that communion, without that fellowshipping, we lacking in the things that can build us, can feed us, and help encourage us, and help us to see what was successful with one person, so we can say, hey, I know how to twist that to meet the needs of my family member, my loved ones, because I know myself, I know my flaws, and I know my mate's flaws. So I know how we jacked up, so I can fix and help my baby so that they don't have to be as jacked up as I am. For example, I tease, you're not jacked up. There's nothing wrong with you. I say that to make light of it. And a lot of times that comedy is so necessary, because this is a seriously heavy and discouraging situation, because we need to vent, but we don't know how to vent. We need to express our frustrations, but we need a safe place to do so. We need a safe place to laugh and play without counsel culture cutting in and cutting us out. So I joke with my husband and my kids, and I'm like, well, I know how Eddie is all messed up in the head, and how he got this Charlie Brown size head, this thick body, and big old feet. So, and how I got this tiny little mouth and tiny ears, and yeah. So I just make fun of it because it's funny. And then we got together and made kids, right? So we all have different things that we joke around about, but there's a little bit of truth to it. And we're saying that we're contributing to the problem, but we're also contributing to the solution. So some folks are really just, yeah, you're among them. Here she goes again. I'm not attacking your head. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. These are things that we joke around about, and people should not miss out on these interactions, because a lot of people, they make jokes, and they try to make sure that other people see that while it's sad, it's also some humor in it as well. So challenge accepted. You've been talking about me on your show since you had a show, so stop it. What you mean challenge accepted? Oh, you mean I have finally accepted your challenge? Okay, I see now. I get it. But anyway, uh so back to the topic. Try not to be emotional is going to be difficult, but there's other people who have that same challenge, and they've been able to accomplish that goal. So you'll be just as successful as they are if you continue to fellowship with those communities and get involved and express yourself, vent, air your frustrations. um, you can live through this just like everyone else who has stepped up to the challenge and have overcome it and are continuing to overcome it. Are you heard? Yeah. Okay. so, um, so definitely. What you say, Eddie? Uh, oh Lord, I think we're having a lag. I never tell people you about for. Yeah. Is that just behind closed doors? Because I've heard it. I've heard it. I've heard it. So okay, but try not to be emotional is the same as being happy for every is not the same as being happy for every interaction, even if it's unsuccessful. For example, people of high needs need you to praise them for every little thing that they do. I think a lot of women will probably be able to attest to that, where as they see my husband coming on here and expressing that he needs a lot of high praises and attention. That's just the mate's job. It's not just a woman's job, it's the mate's job to give high praises, high attention, and be extremely happy and glad and be joyful and just yay, and you're not really you're not feeling it, yay, but you're not feeling it. It's okay. It's okay, because as long as you're trying to say yay, okay, great job, give me a minute, and you go somewhere and kick a rock or punch a wall or whatever you got to do, but that's required of you to help aid successful progression towards the development that you would like to see. And the whole goal is to aid individual, you know, ability for the person to function without anybody else being around. That's really where you're trying to get to. Children require high energy, and not just children, but people who have high needs. They they have high energy, and they need that high energy, and they need high levels of happiness expressed, especially when they have diverse needs or high needs. And that's not just people who have entered into the community where now they have a special needs. It's people who are extremely intelligent, okay? And they're like, I need something in particular, and you're not able to give it to me. So this is even for the gifted people. They have special needs, and you have to address those needs. For example, if you have a child prodigy who's playing a piano, and they're like, well, look, you're not giving me what I need. You need to listen to them and let them tell you, let them express to you what it is they need, even if you don't feel like you'll be able to give them. what they need, even if you have to outsource their needs and stand around in the vicinity and watch to make sure that they're not taken advantage of, even if they don't want you to. And most oftentimes, gifted children don't want their parents to stick around and be all up in their business like they're a kid or incapable. It's not about the inability, it's about the need to be around and show love. I don't need attention if you know me. I'm not talking about just anybody. I'm talking about me. You want my attention. I say everybody's attention, but anyway, I can attest to that gifted person. I always hate. Listen, leave me alone. Yeah. Okay. So grown-ups tend to exhibit um, this high needs for attentions too, especially if it's your mate and you spoil them, as I have with my husband, and they just accustomed to your high energy, your high support, and just you being there, even if you're only in the vicinity. Watch other episodes where I've talked about that, and you would definitely understand. Yeah, see what I mean? See by that comment? That's my husband. Okay, so it stands to reason children in their developmental stages and those with high needs will greatly benefit from higher attention and higher energy levels. And there are studies that do support that. So if you would like to go and research that, look for studies that tell you that they are peer reviewed. There are some peer reviewed studies, and those peer reviewed studies mean that there have been other PhDs that have reviewed this information. They have saw that the information is accurate and is applicable, so that source in that article is giving accurate information. So I encourage you to go and read. Yeah, if Eddie doesn't know you, he won't look you in the eye. Okay, so I've been successful with another thing. But having my children to sit down to watch Leapfrog DVDs that repeat the phonetic and alphabet sounds um, constantly. That kind of repetition where you can just push play and repeat. And in the Leapfrog DVD that I have, in the very beginning of the episode or the DVD, it's constantly going over ah buh, 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 and it's constantly going over that until you push play. I love and highly recommend that DVD for that purpose. I thought that the DVD will automatically play because my sister was like, "Oh, you still doing VHS? I'm gonna give you a DVD." So we had to go and get a DVD player because she got my baby a DVD. So I found the Leapfrog videos and I was like, "Oh well, I'm gonna play this." And I thought that it would play automatically, and so I could take a nap because that's what I was told. You could put the DVD on and take a nap. I was like, I'm gonna give that a try because my firstborn son never slept. That's probably why he didn't speak very much. He was tired. But I didn't know. I just knew that the doctors told me nothing was wrong with him. Everything is okay. He's developed just well. And I put the DVD on, let him watch it, and it just continuously did that for as long as I slept. The baby didn't make a sound, didn't say nothing. He had his little juicy cup or water cup, little cups with the little sippy thing on it. He was sitting in his little chair, his walker, and right there where I am, and he's sleeping, and I'm napping and watching, and I wake up and take a look, and he's still there, and the DVD's still going, and I'm like, oh man, this DVD thing is great, and come to find, I had to push play. I felt terrible, but my baby was reading and writing at the age of 2. So God fills the gaps. That's all I'm gonna say. Prayer works. But what did you say? My son's having my habit of walking up. Yeah. Sometimes we notice things that our children do, and we get to say them, but I guess other people can't say it. That must be what he's saying. Nah, I was just a happy child. Yeah, you are a very happy child, and God really helped me out because I promise you, you never slept. But anyway, these are the ways that I've been successful, and I'm not saying that my children sat down and watch. Um, I'm saying I sat them down to watch. And God fills the gaps. Um, they had a playroom, and I had to do my schoolwork. So there was a converted garage that was converted into a room, and I used that room as their playroom, and it was right next to where I was working. So in that playroom, they could hear the educational videos playing in the background all the time, and they got to choose which ones they wanted to listen to or watch. And all of this is going on in the background all the time at the same time of them playing, eating lunch, and then we'd go out to the play place and go to the park, and they'd have these things going on at home. So while I had to work and I had to do what I had to do, they had that repetition that they needed. What can I say? Repetition is key to learning. It is key to learning, because without that repetition, I would have probably lost my mind trying to be so repetitive. I definitely would have lost my patience trying to be so repetitive. So these methods have been essential. And nowadays, by the time I had my last baby, he had a tablet before he was one, because he was so, advanced into, oh, let's get this, grabbing that, and pushing buttons on my phone and getting my phone to do things. I think he programmed a missile to launch right at the house. I don't know. Nowadays, kids doing things with your phone you just didn't even know was possible. So they need their own tablet. Make sure it's a kid tablet, so it's got, limits, not your personal cell phone that doesn't have limits. You don't want the government coming knocking on your door talking about, we have a locate here for a missile. What was that? That was on Sheldon, where he was young and he ordered some supplies that came to the house. So I am joking. I am joking. This is not my personal experience. That was a joke. Jay was saying his alphabet and reading words by 1 years old, not two. Okay, my bad. Um, I'm just the one that was homeschooling. Meet your child at their level of study. Yes, and try not to be frustrated, and try not to have so many emotions, because the children are encoding a whole lot of things, to include your body movement, and the way you move your head, what you're wearing, okay, and how you're wearing it, who you're keeping company with, and what you're doing with that company. It's just so much information that children are taking in, that is difficult to control their environment, outside of them having a playroom or having a bedroom that's so entertaining that they're well kept in there doing things that's productive for their age group. So those educational DVDs I highly recommend. And there's also free YouTube videos that have these exact things that I'm telling you, and they're doing numbers, they're doing Bible stories, they're doing sports, and showing kids how to do with sports, interact with sports, how to do various things. So I highly recommend that you overlook some of the bad things that's going on the internet and DVDs and things like that, and find your niche and use those things to your advantage. That's what they're there for. And learn. There are different learning methods. We have different ways. Yes, we all have different ways of learning, and that is a whole nother episode. But I have gone over that in some different episodes. So please, you watch episodes, also lead episodes, build on. I remember to be a surprise when Papa was born, because Teddy read a word he saw on a paper. Yeah, and it's really funny, because a lot of times people are watching you and your children interact, and they're watching your children behave, and you're not aware of it. Like I was never really aware of people watching me and my kids. And I went to a doctor's visit once, and my baby Sean Anthony was just old enough to walk, and people were surprised that he was even walking. And he went, as I'm setting up the appointment, standing at the desk. Sean Anthony got tired of standing there doing nothing, because they so short. He just looking at a wall. So he let my hand go. He walked over to the sitting area, and before he sat down, there was this table that had a bunch of magazines on it. So he picked the magazine up, went over to the chair, climbed up into the chair, sat down, and started reading the magazine. This one woman cracked up. She was so thrilled and entertained by just the simplest little act. But to me, it was just normal. And people who have children of high needs and family members of high needs, these behaviors are just normal for them. It's not something that they go way out of their way for. It is just a natural occurrence. And you get used to it. If you're just joining that community, you get used to it and it's okay. The biggest thing to do is to play games. Yeah, the, the biggest thing I can say is from watching the homeschool community and being a part of the homeschool community is the community of love. It's so much love. It's like it's like a love that you cannot get through your life without after you had it. It's so many people who are accepting, warm, and inviting, and encouraging, and inspirational. People who are making history happen. In ooh, it's amazing. So grow your community as you're growing your family and loving on your family and loving them through it. Yeah, grow your kids together. It is important, and the methods are so many that it's ridiculous that we're not talking about this like every day. Okay, but anyway, I would frequently visit my kids as they played in their free play and they had educational time when they wanted to venture out and try traditional brick and mortar schooling. I would frequent them unannounced and I would stay if they asked, and they always asked. So they would have that sense of security. Now, the sense of security is only derived via your repetition. If you're always, oh, I don't have time. Oh, I don't have time. Oh, I can't. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll do something else. I'll do it later. That is not what you need to do with people, with family members of high needs, especially the gifted and the people who really require high levels of happiness and high adrenaline levels from you to support them through whatever they're enduring. So it's very important that you make the time. So I would frequently visit them during free play in their playroom outside of my working, so they understood it's important to have time alone without fearing they'd be forgotten or miss me too long. This gave them security and then exhibited their high levels of trust and confidence and independence, which is what you want for your child. You want them to be independent at the end of the day for as much as possible, at least 2 hours at a time. So these tactics require far greater repetition when children do not progress through developmental stages as quickly as their peers. It's not about how fast children develop, it's about how helping them to develop, period. So don't put a timeline on it. Don't say, "Well, I had a kid so that by the time they're 18, I can go do my own thing." Don't do that. Don't put a time limit on yourself because the fact is, if your child decides to go to college, it's not 18. It's when they get out a master's degree, if they decide to go that far with their education. So stop putting, and I spoke about that on the very first episode, February, a year ago, um, from last February. I spoke about that. So you have to get over the the wayward mental conditioning of deal with the broken system, even though you know it's broken. It's not 18. It's probably 25 or something around about that area. And then, even then, you may still need to house your baby because they're still trying to get on their feet. You'd be surprised how old a person is when their brain really reaches the mental developmental stages where they can really be independent. You'd be surprised. I advise you to look that up. I'm sure it'd be very interesting. But anyway, one of the reasons I love homeschooling communities is because it's really great for families who have difficulties with their children's developmental needs. And it's not just because they have high needs. It could be because they are extremely intelligent. I know you've watched the news and you have seen how these students that were homeschooled have been little geniuses. Now, I've said it in different episodes. I'm going to say it again and probably again after this. Einstein was homeschooled. They never saw him coming. And if he went to traditional brick and mortar schools, would he have been hampered from that development? You never know. You never know how many little Einsteins you have out there that are being um, hampered by their environment because it doesn't foster the children in their developmental stages the way it would if they knew that they had a little Einstein on their hands. So there's that. What did it say? I've done a great episode. I have a proper right. Okay. Well, thank you for coming. If you're saying goodbye, thank you for coming. Okay, but far too often people want to get on with their life or their day, and they don't have time for anything like supporting one another through the emotions of parenting. Homeschooling communities are more mindful and attentive to one another, meaning adults and children. So communities, and it's not just the homeschooling community, because I have seen some communities where they've addressed this problem and they welcome people and with their children, other family members, to include the parents. Some of those communities are the communities of cerebral palsy, and some of those communities are, communities of people with high needs or people who have newly entered into the community of high needs. They're newly an amputee, or they're newly recovering from a stroke or a heart attack that caused them some internal or external um, needs, high needs. Um, so there's many examples. I did an episode on people with diabetes and pre-diabetes, um, and I showed where the CDC has is a reputable source that has communities of people that are working together and meeting and addressing these high needs. And if you have an ailment like diabetes, that is considered a high needs community. It's a high needs issue, and you need this high energy and high repetition of motivation and inspiration. And even though you might not want it, you might reject it, and oftentimes want it to go away. This is something that's put there and is designed for you to have the support you need. But anyway, I really like that the homeschooling community, because if they don't possess the ability themselves, they still go out and fish out. They cast their net wide and far to grab everything that they need, and at a very affordable uh, price, if not for free. And they do things like find people who speak different languages, sometimes Mandarin, sometimes, just Hebrew, things that people are like, what? You wouldn't even get that in traditional school, or should I say brick and mortar school. Um, and they sign language. They have people who are there, even if they are not in need of sign themselves. They still have someone who is able to teach sign language, and music and sports and travel. It's just so many things. And when you travel in that community, um, they find friends from that community in the different location that you're traveling to, and they introduce you, and it's like you're traveling with family, like you left home but you went to home, just a different location. I just love that community. I can't say enough about the homeschooling community, but I have noticed with different groups that remains to be seen in that group as well, especially with amputees. Um, anyway, homeschooling is like the most elite community of high expectations of not just academics, but behavior and diversity as well. Not just diversity in culture, but diversity in abilities. So you have people who are high needs and people who are really gifted and people who just really need more help. So you have it's like attending Harvard, Stanford, or Yale, but for the K through 12 students and families. There's a high expectation of the members of that community. That's what I'm saying. So I really love that community. I can never say enough about them. And self-soothing techniques are extremely important to teach children as they progress through the developmental stages, and it's extremely beneficial to frequently redirect parents to as well, so parents can endure the challenges of the process. But that's my show for today, and I don't have much time. I told you this was going to go. I had a lot of information, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to get everything in. So I'll finish everything up from this episode in the next episode. But this episode was branched off from the previous episode. So if you did not see that previous episode, please go back and watch that episode. These episodes are building on top of each other. And if you don't want to miss out on the entire conversation, tune in to those previous episodes. And again, remember, mental health is physical wealth. See you on the next episode.